welcome. I'm Sarah, the voice that opens each episode of You're Probably Right. If this is your first time here, I'm glad you found us. This show is built on real experiences and honest reflection. Nothing rushed, nothing performative, just conversations meant to meet you where you are. In a moment, you'll hear from MCM, the voice behind this space. Each episode comes from lived experience and thoughtful insight, not trends or quick takes. So get a drink, fluff your pillow, or just press pause on the outside noise.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's MCM. I love the new opening. Guys, there's so many things that I gotta say. And I'm gonna say, first of all, I'm thankful for all of my listeners. I'm thankful for everybody who's ever decided that they needed to mess with me at all and listen to my podcast. I understand it is not short form. It is not something that clips up probably very well on TikTok or Instagram or X or whatever people listen to, Facebook. I'm going to try in the future to clip it up a little bit. So if you are here in the future, way after I've done this, then maybe it worked, maybe it didn't, I don't know. But again, I really do appreciate all my listeners, everybody for the first time who just cuts in for 10 minutes, to those who've been listening from the very inception of this podcast, which apparently remember that kid? You too, apparently. We do have it down that it started in 2021. But the truth of the matter is, actually, I think the very first episode of this podcast was actually made in 2015. And, the funny thing was it was for me to start doing a podcast, and I wanted some of my family members to come alongside me with it. And for some reason, they just thought it was something that old people did, so nobody was doing it. Nobody was willing to, which, I think it's a little lesson for you, those who are listening to me and under the sound of my voice, as they say. When you have a vision, go for that vision. And this will kind of tie into what this episode is about, sort of. Smart ones will get it. Just because people around you, or maybe someone who's with you, doesn't see your vision, listen, it is so much easier to go through and fight for a vision when you have somebody beside you, somebody fighting with you, or someone at least pushing you forward to meet the traffic or to meet the adversaries head on. But even if you don't have a person beside you, someone backing you, maybe buttressing, that's a funky word. Someone holding you at the back as you fight forward, you still go for it. Because, when I look back on this podcast, for instance, if I had started and kept going, maybe I would have only had maybe 12 episodes, or maybe I would have only had, 50 episodes or something like that, or 30 episodes or something like that per year. But if you look at it, I would have started so much further, and I'd be so much better by now. Anyhow, but you never know. But I'm just saying, at the end of the day, like, what happens is going to happen, and what was supposed to happen is happening. All you can do is your best. But the thing is, just because somebody doesn't see your vision, it doesn't mean you don't need to fight. But again, we're stronger in numbers. No man is an island. No woman is an island. All right. So now that I've done with this weird soliloquy that has a little bit, but again, basically where it joins is the fact of the matter of a man having a woman with him, a part of his life, two of them pushing forward rather than a guy just pushing by himself. It's just so much better, no matter what it is. Okay. Have you ever noticed that the older you get, the quieter the pressure becomes? Kind of reminds me of when you see an old man wearing dress, walking shorts, dress, black socks, and church shoes. He's walking his dog down the street. At that point, he's like, man, this dude's just giving up on life. He doesn't even care anymore. It's kind of like the old lady backing out of her driveway and doesn't even bother to look over her shoulder. She's, man, you know what? I'm 90. I'm coming back. I hope you're ready for me. Anyhow, um, but listen, but the heavier the pressure feels, though, time. Although not the pressure to date or to marry if you're not, or to settle down in the traditional sense, but the pressure to explain yourself. Why are you single? What's wrong with you? Why you are so selective? Why you are not chasing what everyone else seems to be chasing? And at some point, if you're honest, you stop trying to justify it because you realize the question in itself is flawed. Most men want a woman. That's the good news here. They want their woman. They want companionship, affection, intimacy, warmth, someone to share life with. But what many men are quietly realizing is that wanting a woman doesn't mean needing one to survive, function, or feel whole. And sadly, when I look at my own life, sometimes I figure that being a movie buff wasn't like the greatest thing for me ever because you look at the way Hollywood presents relationships, marriage, and even if you know that it's not true, even if you know it's fake, even if you know it's make believe, even if you know that there's a narrative that they're pushing, it still seeps in you. And it's kind of weird because I really do love movies. Like I can think of some of my favorite movies right now. One day I should do an episode. I think I tried that and it didn't work out so well. um, but Denzel Washington of all people says he never watches his movies back. It kind of bugged me a little bit. I don't know, like it's like we're enjoying your artwork and you don't even care to turn around and watch it back. It just kind of like it threw me for a loop. Like I'm really not happy that he doesn't. But I mean, maybe if he was, watching his movies over and over and perseverating on his characters, maybe he wouldn't have been as good of an actor as he ended up being. You know what I mean? Anyhow, man. But as I said before, wanting a woman doesn't mean needing one to survive, to function, or to feel whole. Although that's what Hollywood has taught us. And that distinction changes everything, even if we're not allowed to say it out loud, really. Because it sounds bad, I guess. And and if not said right, at the right time even, it can be insulting. You say that in mixed company, there's going to be somebody thrown off, trust me. When you're raised well, when you know how to take care of yourself as a man, when you can cook, clean, work, fix things, raise children, manage life, and stand on your own 2 feet, like for real, the relationship dynamic shifts. You're not looking for completion, like, again, who said that? Was that Jerry Maguire? You complete me? No, you got to be complete already. It sounds nice. And I hope you guys understand what I'm saying about the effects of Hollywood, right? It just sounds amazing. I'm sure there's lots of men, lots of women who've said to their spouse, you complete me, as if you weren't a complete human being without them. Like you're not going to be if they pass away, or if they leave, or if you leave. But you're looking for an addition. But it doesn't sound so nice to say, hey, babe, you're an addition to my life. I mean, it could, but it's just the thinking, you know? It's like, Again, to say to somebody you complete me makes them feel really important, right? Whereas if you say, "Oh, you're an add-on to my life," it doesn't sound so nice, but it should, because you're something. Sorry, guys, you're something that the person didn't have. There's something missing. You're complete, but your life is not complete in a sense without that person. So they're the add-on. They're the additional. They're the buttricks, the the helpmate, the partner. I know I'm not saying that exactly. One of these days, I'm gonna have a bunch of episodes where I'm saying exactly everything that I want to say exactly how I want to say it, because I just feel like so many of these, I've probably messed up so many of these episodes because sometimes I just can't find the words. And although I do write out a script and everything, and I do veer off the script, that's my thing. Even if I have something set, and sometimes it's been done days, weeks ahead of time, or just hours ahead of time, I still want to add something to it. And if somehow sometimes I don't feel like I really get there all the time, but I'm trying. Remember, this is a monologue type, so there's nobody to, push back. It's just me. It's just me, myself, and I. All right. Anyhow, sorry. I probably just lost like 10 people just now because I did that. Listen, you're not looking for completion. You are looking for an addition, although it doesn't sound amazing. And that makes some people uncomfortable because it removes leverage from the equation, right? It doesn't make you sound so important if you're just an addition, right? For a long time, men were told directly or indirectly that without a woman, they were unfinished, that their value was incomplete. Now, the one thing I will tell you is usually I didn't even go into it. Remember, this episode, like all my other episodes, are for entertainment purposes only. And this is not a Christian podcast, but it is a podcast by a Christian. So I know that in the beginning, God created heaven and the earth, and on the sixth day He created man. And then there's man and there's woman, both mankind, but men and women. And they were told to be fruitful, so work. They were told to subdue the land. They're supposed to multiply and have children, right? So that is something that we're set out to be. So don't think that I'm speaking against that in that way. I believe that it is better for everybody to be married than to be single, and to be burning in your own lusts and all that stuff because you're by yourself. But I also don't think you need to be running around with Tom, Dick, Harry, Susie, and June, right? Or in Xerxes. But you are complete. You are completely made. You are fearfully and wonderfully made, the Bible says. But at the same time, you could try and try and try and just not find what you're looking for whatever reason. Maybe you're where you live, maybe it's your culture. There's so many different things now that keep people back from getting into a marriage properly or staying into a marriage properly. So much sin, so much selfishness that goes on. I think that's one of the biggest things is the selfishness for a lot of people. Why people cheat, why people don't submit themselves to each other in a marriage, why there has to be so much different types of manipulation in a marriage, people leaving, people don't commit properly. Anyhow, that's for a whole nother topic. Anyhow, but they've been told that their value was incomplete. The success without marriage was somehow hollow. But that story no longer holds when men realize they can live full, meaningful, productive lives, men and women, of course, on their own. And that partnership should be a choice, not a necessity. Now, I'm not saying to choose singleness, honestly, unless you're just born that way and you don't need any intimacy at all. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to drink my coffee at the same time doing this. This episode is not about rejecting women. It is about rejecting the idea that a woman should be the center of a man's world. So if you got a husband, you may want to, maybe you don't want to pull him up to the, maybe you do. Because I'm not going to be here bashing women. I don't do that. Most of my episodes are geared towards men and women, and some are just geared to women. I just don't put it out there. I'm trying to get everybody in here. You know what I mean? Because when that happens, though, men do not become better partners. They lose themselves, and once that happens, everyone loses. Everything changes. Everything gets worse when you make her the center of your world. So as I was saying, guys, before I really get into this, I apparently I've been looking into a lot of fasting. Now I've done a fast before, and it was 7 days, and maybe one day I'll talk about that experience. I've also done Ozempic for a while, made me sick most of the time, didn't really work, and then when I finally figured out how to use it, my insurance company decided they didn't want to carry it for us anymore. So that's a weight loss journey on itself. But been looking into regular fasting, not intermittent fasting. I already do that. I already did that. Been there, done that. Just fasting like a day, 2, 3 days. Anyways, apparently, like I'm staying fasted for at least 12 hours, and then breaking the fast is the issue. See, because for instance, this morning I wanted to go to the gym, so I went to the gym, and usually I like to have a nice coffee with cream, at least the coffee cream. So there's a little sugar in there, whatever it is. Sometimes I add sugar, but whatever. I just tried to do the black coffee thing and go to the gym. I could only drink about 4 sips, and then I had to just chuck it out. And then I went and I tried the rower, and then I did an elliptical and weights and stuff like that. But just trying to finally get some cardio in my workout. And because I haven't. I've been back at the gym now for about a year now. I think it's exactly a year. I can definitely notice the difference. I'm at least, I would say, at least 25 pounds lighter than I was this time last year. And my goal is to lose another 50. And that'll be perfectly exactly where I want to be for the rest of my life, which obviously that'll be for 3 years. And then I'll go up or down regardless, getting older. But yeah, just trying to stay in that fasted state. And I realized that many mornings when I wake up, go to work and throw this coffee and suck it down, even though I'm not eating for the next 5, 6 hours at work, even people are saying you're starving yourself. I'm not. But you kind of you throw yourself out of ketosis, I think it's called, when you have sugar. So in other words, if I fast, say I go to sleep at say 9 o'clock, and then I wake up, because I do wake up at about 5, and I pray, and then I usually have a coffee, sit down at the computer, and then I get going to where I got to get to. Um, but I've taken that coffee in the middle there, and even though I stay in somewhat of a sort of a fasted state, but not the type of fasted state that goes after your visceral fat, and that's what I need. So I'm gonna somehow try to figure out, maybe I can have a coffee later in the day at work. Maybe I gotta start bringing the coffee cream and stuff to work. I don't know. I gotta figure this out though. Anyhow, back to my regular scheduled program. Okay, listen. Here's the uncomfortable truth that most men learn too late. Men are most attractive when there is nothing on the line, when there is no outcome to manage, no relationship to protect, no access to lose, no fear of consequences hanging in the air. Do you understand? You know how you walk in as a guy or as a girl, you know, you walk in a relationship, maybe you're seeing this person, maybe it's dates, maybe it's just you're seeing them casually. I really believe that, clubs, churches, work, these are the best places to meet people, where you see them regularly, and you don't the point in the beginning isn't let's get married or let's start dating because you're attractive. I like what you do. I like what your life looks like. You like what you look like. Blah, 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 blah. Let's go on a date and see if we match as in personalities. I'd rather, and I think it works better if you see if your personalities match, see if you like their sense of humor, their sense of wit, their gift for gab, how they present themselves, and then you flip and you go into the other stuff. I think it way, 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 way works better that way, honestly. But what do I know? I'm single. I'm telling you, I've finally, I think I've cracked the code for me, anyways. But my point is that when you walk in and you have nothing to manage, when you don't have a relationship protect you, just you. So in other words, if June, maybe you guys could be together, you and John, June and John can be together, but going in, John is just John. June is just June. They're not trying to they're not trying to impress each other in that way. You understand? They're just being themselves. And maybe it's not June, maybe it's Debbie over there. You know what I mean? Like, you just walk in, you just daily walking in, or weekly, or whatever it is, walking in as yourself with your own sense of humor, with your own ideals. Maybe you guys argue. Maybe, like, not argue, but you debate topics. Whereas 6 or 7 years down the line, June and John are together, but there's no debate anymore. You know exactly what June feels. You know exactly what John feels. And there's certain things, you're just not going to say because it's going to cause an argument. Do you understand what I'm saying? And I'm saying, if you can find that person that 6 to 7 years down the line, when you're dating, or when you're hopefully not dating, when you're married, and you can still be yourself, you can still talk in the way as not to protect the relationship because it's going to implode if you say something wrong, or that means that no intimacy for the next week because you said something that was totally against what she thought. Or do you understand that pressure to protect the relationship, to protect intimacy, to protect your status in the home? You have nothing to lose. You're just yourself. That's exactly what they fall in love with in the first place. But for some reason, we reel it all back in once it becomes important to protect and manage. I think I've said the whole thing that I needed to say, just right there. And I don't know if a lot of people are even going to get what I'm saying. I think you should, right? When a man is simply being himself, speaking freely, joking, disagreeing, expressing options and opinions without calculation, women tend to respond positively. You ever notice? I mean, that's what's really upsetting. Maybe it's really upsetting for a guy like me who's finally cracked the code and realized that trying to impress a woman um eternally is impossible. But when we're not trying to really impress and we're speaking freely, we're showing our sense of humor. When we're disagreeing with stuff we really don't agree with, when we're expressing our opinions, founded or unfounded, researched or unresearched, lived or maybe not lived, and maybe that's where the disagreement and the conversation is going to happen, but it's you. You're being yourself, mask off. Without calculation, women tend to respond positively. They feel relaxed. They feel drawn in. They feel safe to be themselves too. That is why so many men notice the same pattern. As a friend, as an acquaintance, as someone with nothing at stake, women often love their energy, right? You're the guy everybody loves at work. You're the guy everybody loves in the bridge club, or the church meeting group, or the Bible study, because you just say what you think and you hash it out. People like you because you have an opinion and you're passionate about it, your opinion, your ideas. You laugh more. You open up. Women say to you, "You're so easy to talk to." For those guys who've been that way with other women who are not their wives, who they're not trying to be their wives, um, like, in other words, guys who are married and maybe you're at work or wherever you're at, people will say you're so easy to talk to, and you're like sitting there like stabbing yourself in your chest. You're like, "But why doesn't my wife feel that way?" It's because you reeled in your personality at home. to not get in trouble, to keep intimacy on the table. Or they'll say something like, "You're different," going totally against what your spouse at home feels. They'll be saying the opposite, or "I feel comfortable around you," right? And sadly, that's why people end up in those extramarital affairs, because what ends up happening is a flip flop. And I'm not like trying to crack a code that people haven't thought of before, but I'm just giving you my honest opinion. That's what this whole podcast is really about. I have a script and I go off sometimes, guys, because I literally have a thought. Imagine that, huh? And I guess that's why people keep coming back and listening, because I'm not just sticking to some dry information. It's not academic necessarily. But listen, once a relationship deepens, once sex enters the picture, once commitment becomes real, something changes and some things change. You get that? And it is usually not the woman who changes first. It's the man. Not because he wants to deceive, although we do. We just don't want to lose what we have. You remember that? Here we go. Let's go back into Hollywood again. You remember what was it? Was it Rocky 2 or 3? I think it was Rocky 3, was it? Anyway, there's one point where Rocky goes, "What are you afraid of, Rocky?" And then he goes, "I don't want to lose what I got." You understand? And I think that's why the movie resonates with so many men. Not the fake punches that we obviously see, the punches going past each other's face in the movie. It's the actual acting of the character Rocky. I think every guy has a little Rocky Balboa inside of him. And most of us just don't want to lose what we got. So we didn't know, maybe we tripped over and fell over this girl we found at poker night or something. I don't know where you guys meet people, hockey. Maybe you're a guy's team, or maybe it's a mixed team, and whatever it is, right? And then you're in a relationship, you realize how much you love her, she realizes how much she loves you, whatever it is, but you got this woman now, and it's like, oh, she's perfect for me. So now you start reeling back your personality, the absolutely wrong thing to do. Instead of going through some bumps and bruises and some growing pains, you reel back in the moment to protect the future. Whereas if you tried to protect the present in some way, shape, or form, you would probably make the future better. I feel like some people are going to listen to this thing twice. Even I'm listening to myself, guys, and I know what I mean, and it still is intricate and a little bit complicated. It's not as simple as maybe some of you guys are smart. What am I saying? Anyhow, all of you guys are smart. Listen, he's doing it not because he wants to deceive, although some of us do, but that's usually the wrong intent is there in that situation. Not because he wants to manipulate, but because he suddenly realizes that he has something to lose. Hopefully you got me. Access to sex, access to affection, these are so important for men. Access to companionship, access to his place in the relationship. So he starts to what? Edit himself. He softens. But the point is when you edit anything, you're changing the data. You're changing the code. You're going off script. Stay with the script, guys. Stay with who you are. Don't put a mask on. I'm not saying you can't compromise, but what you think and what you believe is what you believe until someone proves to you otherwise. But don't just change it to agree, to get along. Happy wife, happy life. yeah, your life will be happier if your wife is happy, but the problem is what you think makes her happy, and you just folding over doesn't actually make her happy. It soothes her. It soothes her. And sometimes she doesn't need to be soothed. She needs you to be real and have a real conversation. Yeah, it's going to cut into your football game, but you're better off having the conversation now rather than just turning into something that you're not. Then you got to protect that and you got to guard that for the rest of your life. And then it comes out in an argument, right? What I'm saying is, he softens his opinions. He swallows his disagreements. He avoids conflict. He becomes more agreeable than authentic. And right there, you've lost it, guys. And right there, if you're forcing a man to do this, you're losing what you love. He's going to be there, but he's going to be a shell of his former self, which you actually liked and loved in the first place. Yeah, so, sorry, I had to pause it for a second, guys. I'm going to say this over again. Listen, the guy starts editing himself. He softens his opinions. He swallows the disagreements. He avoids conflict. He becomes more agreeable than authentic. Agreeable? No, you don't need to be more agreeable. And I'm not saying you need to go against everything, guys. I'm just saying being your actual self. That's what they fell in love with in the first place. Unless, of course, you came in fake. Then it's time to get real if you did, you know. Listen, I know somebody who loved their wife so much that when they got in the relationship, when they future got married, yeah, she was into everything at the beginning, right? Many guys can attest to this. And sometimes women wonder why guys change. But, you're into everything. You're trying things once, twice, new things, opening the whole kit and caboodle, as they say. And then slowly you start retracting everything. He changes, but you start retracting things. All of a sudden, you're not as adventurous. You're not willing to try new things. You're not willing to try things again. And he starts thinking that if he starts agreeing with you more often, if he believes in your liberal views, even though he's not really liberal, and you met him not really that liberal, but all of a sudden, if you look at the guy and you say, wait a second, what happened to all these Christian beliefs that you had before? Have you slowly sucked them away because you're scared of being yourself? And I think sometimes women know when the guy has changed and he's more coming alongside of what she believes in in various ways, but they don't say anything. It's like, yes, my way is the right way. Well, when you notice this, and when you've noticed your guy editing himself, and when you notice that you have the edited version, not the raw, unfiltered version that you became in love with in the first place, it's almost like you created a monster. And you don't love the monster, even though the monster is nice and sweet now, right? He's tamed. He's not the beast that you came to love in the first place, who was a little angry, was a little frustrated. His bear didn't look all that great. He may have had a snaggletooth. No, I'm just Beauty and the Beast, guys. But the point is that women fall in love with the beast. And yeah, when you become, who is the other dude? We don't even know his name. And that's my point. He's muted. Before we knew he was the beast, right? Who does he become after? Is he Prince Charming? Like, honestly, I don't even know. And I've seen the movie, the cartoon. I've probably seen plays on it, Beauty and the Beast. Just think about it. You become in love. You fall in love with the beast. It's just a thought. Guys think, oh, she wants a nice guy. She wants a nice. No, man, she wants the beast. She wants the guy in the who has the power in his hand, but knows how to be gentle. Figure that out. You figure out society, you figure out the world, you figure out your life, you figure out your woman, you figure out your relationship, and you'll have success. Listen, not because he agrees, but because he's afraid. Afraid of ending up on the couch, afraid of sexual withdrawal, afraid of emotional coldness, afraid of being pushed out of the relationship entirely. There are people right now, maybe listening under the sound of my voice, I hate saying it, but it's true, who literally are scared to end up on the couch today. Men, I don't know very many women who get kicked out on the couch. Go on the couch tonight, honey. Maybe you do. Maybe those are successful marriages. You only hear about the other guys, the guys who are kicked out and put on the couch. But guys are afraid that there'll be no sex tonight. And that maybe that's all they had. And this is another thing. And I don't know how this podcast episode is going to actually hold it. But do you know many men go to work every day, just like women do? I'm not saying women don't do it. Some women don't. Some guys don't. But but my point is, it's not to compare, guys. The point is that sometimes the only thing that's going to happen today for many men is if the day ends with, you know, sex. Married men. And when it doesn't happen, it's like that day was almost feels like a waste for a lot of guys. And that depends on how open that stuff is too, because sometimes it's like it's just going through the motions. So I don't know if there's realness in that, but that's an entirely different topic. But when it's happening and it happens right, sometimes all he has to look forward to that day, those 3 days, whatever your timing is, right? Maybe he has to prime the pump. You could ask somebody what that means. Maybe he has to prime the pump for 2 days to get what he needs on the 3rd day. And maybe any one of those days he could screw up and it throws him back a day. Sometimes it throws him back a week. And Lord help him if it throws him back a whole cycle. You know what that means too, right? Yeah, I'm spotting. Oh my goodness. Some people know exactly what I'm talking about. And some guys are just scared of the coldness. They deal with coldness all day at work. Maybe it's outside on the construction site. Maybe it's just with miserable people at work. And you're just hoping for the gentleness, that nurturing, loving woman. And if you say something wrong, you're scared that it's going to not be there. She's not going to be there. Frederica turns into Fred. And sometimes you feel like you're walking on eggshells, and you know, many men are in relationships where they feel like they're one argument away from being kicked out of the whole relationship altogether. I've been there, done that. I've walked on those eggshells. You cannot walk on eggshells and not break them. And if you're in an eggshell type of relationship, Lord help you. But this is where most men lose themselves. They're no longer standing on business. They're standing on avoidance. And here's the part most people miss. Women were not attracted to the edited version of the man. They were attracted to the grounded version, the unfiltered beast, the unfiltered version. The man who was not afraid of friction. But so many times guys get in a relationship and they become something-fied. You can put your own word in front of it. Attraction doesn't survive in self-erasure. It cannot. because you're a different person now. You're not who you were 5 months ago, 6 years ago, 2 years ago. This is why men often feel confused when sex fades in a relationship. They think effort should be rewarded. I can tell you about effort. They think love means accommodation. They think sacrifice equals security. It doesn't. It gives you the total opposite, guys. Please, please, please hear me. But desire does not operate on effort. I know that you'll hear it. Women say it all the time. I want a guy who shows effort. And then guys like, how do I show effort? Well, you try to take me out to you try to say this, you try to like if I could find it, just give me a second as you hear the piano in the background. If I could find you some I don't know if it makes sense me even reading. Let me just see if I can find something first. It's not effort. It's not all of a sudden you're going to start buying this and buying that. I don't think I'm going to be able to. I can't just read that. But anyways, there's many things that show. You'll hear people talk about effort all the time. And is it more effort that a person really wants? Is that who you're supposed to change into for anyone? So desire does not operate on effort. It operates on polarity, presence, and self-respect. When a man makes a woman his world, he unintentionally removes the very qualities that created attraction in the first place. For some guys, that needs to be like a mantra. You know, when people say stay real? Yeah, that's what it means. Stay real. When people used to say stay real, I guess. His purpose collapses inward. His center of gravity shifts. His world gets smaller. Yeah. You ever see a guy who had like 5, 6 friends before he got married, and all of a sudden he basically alienates those friends and just clings to his wife? Like literally clings to his wife? Women don't even like clingy men. And I don't think that's what the scripture meant when it says cling to your wife. Not in that way, where you have nothing else going on except work and your wife. WW. Nobody benefits from that. She doesn't, because your excitement, your unpredictability is gone. You know the boring part that people always complain, like, oh, he's so boring. But I want a guy who is steady. Yeah, but when you lose your opinion, even, it just makes you a worse person, turns you into oatmeal. Nobody benefits from that. Just, oh, now you agree with everything she says. You think she loves that? She doesn't. She wants a little spikiness from you. She doesn't expect you just to be smooth all over. Most men do not realize this until they are deep into a relationship, years in, wondering how they went from being desired to being tolerated. And tolerance is the quiet death of intimacy. Men do not stop wanting women. They stop wanting to disappear for them. I think a lot of guys are there now where they're tired of disappearing. You see, the thing is, the reality is for most women, you can walk down your nearest block and happen across the first man you see. Don't do this, obviously. But if you offered the average guy, when you walk down the street, the average woman, okay, put it this way. If you offered 5 guys, the next 5 men you see in a mall, wherever, and you offered 5 guys, I guarantee you those men are single and not joined to a woman and all that other stuff. I'd say you at least get 3 out of 5, most women. Now, if a guy went up to 5 women, the next 5 women, and offered intimacy, you not only would most guys be lucky if he got 1 out of 5, but chances are police would probably be called and he might get slapped in the face. Do you understand the difference with a guy looking for a mate and a woman looking for a mate? It's right there, simple for anybody to see. And women know this somewhere. And guys know this somewhere. So they become that Rocky. I don't want to lose what I got. I really think that should be calling this episode that. Most men do not want multiple women. And somebody's saying, yeah, right, I can hear you. They want one woman who feels safe, warm, affectionate, and sexually open. The idea that men need variety is mostly compensation, not desire. Right, he's trying to compensate for what he has at home right now. That's why the cheating and the nonsense happens. Or something else is wrong with him. It is what happens when intimacy disappears and peace is gone. A man who feels respected, wanted, and secure does not need anyone else. But when respect erodes, when desire becomes conditional, when affection turns transactional, men begin shrinking themselves to keep access. That is when resentment builds. That is when attraction dies. That is when relationships quietly rot. Shrinking yourself, guys. Who wants a shrunken version of you? I was in the pool. I'm just messing with you. And here's the truth most men are embarrassed to admit. Just exactly what I just said. I was in the pool. No. They are not afraid of being alone. That's why he hangs out in the garage all the time or in the basement. I'm just joking. Well, am I? They are not afraid of being, well, yeah. They're afraid of being unwanted. You know how much his excitement leaves his body when the average guy realizes that he's not wanted by his wife or his mate or whatever? If that it becomes that to that, or has become to that, honestly, he's in maintenance mode. He's in autopilot. And you or him have to get him out of there if you want to be happy in your marriage, in your relationship. You see, being alone is survivable for most men. Being diminished is not. And that's why I've jokingly, but not so jokingly said, men want cheerleaders. And you're thinking of pom-poms and short skirts and No, that's not what I'm talking about. There is another layer to this that men understand intuitively, but rarely articulate clearly. How much time we got? All right, let's try this. Men do not orient their sense of worth around love first. They orient it around respect. That does not mean men do not want love at all. They do, deeply. But love without respect feels unstable to a man. It feels conditional. It feels temporary, like you're going somewhere. A man can survive without love. He cannot survive long without respect. When a man feels respected, he feels grounded. He feels solid. He feels capable. From that place, love can grow naturally. When respect disappears, love starts to feel like something that can be withdrawn at any moment. And that keeps a man in constant state of management instead of presence. And you want the presence. His presence is what drove you close in the first place. And this is where a lot of men get trapped. And relationships are destroyed, or relationships are on autopilot. They stay in relationships not because they are fulfilled, but because they are tolerated. They perform stability. They manage moods, right? They walk on eggshells. And let's get it real. Most guys are not physically scared of their wives, but emotionally, eggshells, baby. They're not being themselves. They're being acceptable. Am I acceptable to you, my liege? That's what most guys become in their marriages. And that's the part that many men reject. You know, those guys that think they're manly men, like what's his name, Tate, and all other people. It's not. It's the fact of the matter is they don't want to be locked down, so they have to be someone else. They want to be able to be themselves. And guys know that their opportunities to mate, their opportunities to be with a woman aren't as lucrative as it is for a woman. Women know this, men know this. So we're already kind of hamstrung right from the get-go. Even though we act like we're not when we're just getting to know you because we don't know if you even want us. But then once we know, we're like, hey, don't want to lose this. Don't want to lose what I got. This is why many men would rather work late, dive into hobbies, or retreat into solitude than remain emotionally exposed in a relationship where respect has eroded. Most guys, that's when they'll get the guts to leave. Once they know there's no respect, it's like, what's the point of you being there? You're giving more, you're doing more, you're buying more, you're listening more, and you're getting less. Not because they stopped caring, but because caring began to cost them their identity, their dignity. This is also where the conversation about settling becomes uncomfortable but necessary. When women say they do not want to settle, what many men hear is not ambition or standards. What they're hearing is comparison. They hear that they are being measured against past options, imagined futures, or people who never actually committed. You hear that? Most of us guys are literally in these relationships, trying to get in these relationships with women who say they do not want to settle. And again, this is what we hear as men. It's not ambition. It's not standards. What they hear is comparison. They hear that they are being measured against past options, guys who've come and gone, literally, imagined futures, probably something out of a movie like Notebook, or people who never actually committed to them in the first place. Poor guy walks in, he's being compared to people that never wanted her in the first place. And here's the quiet truth. Time is not neutral. Delaying commitment increases selectiveness, but not always compatibility. Many men experience this arc in silence. Early in life, they are overlooked while they are building. Most guys. Later in life, they are asked to provide stability to someone who once passed them by, or a girl like her. That creates tension men rarely voice, right? It's like, I got the money now, maybe I got a house now, maybe I got a good car now, good job, good career, and now the women want to come. But if a guy were to try to voice it, it just makes him sound bitter. But it's not bitterness, it's memory. Most men do not want to be chosen by default, even though that's what's happening many times. Good car, good money, good body, good looks, good career, good genes, whatever. Guys want to be wanted for who they are, not for what they have or what they can provide, even though women are looking for providers. And that's where that twist is, that I obviously don't have time to explain here today. They do not want to be a safe landing spot after options narrow. And your options are getting narrow the older you get. That's just the reality. And there's that old clock there. We want to be a deliberate choice. And if that is not available, many men quietly will easily opt out. Not loudly, not angrily, just internally. They stop chasing, they stop proving, they stop auditioning. And this is where mothers come back into the picture. Although they were never in the picture in the first, no, just joking. Whether we like it or not, when a woman raises a son to be competent, independent, and self-respecting, she creates a man who does not need a woman to survive. Now think about this. For all of you women, if you're still here who maybe were ticked off with some of the stuff I said for whatever reason, and maybe you're a single mother, maybe you're a mother of a son, think about that, what I just said. If not, rewind it and listen again. That man that you've created, that man that you've raised, will not become a bad husband, but he also will not tolerate disrespect. He will not confuse compliance with love. He will not trade his spine for peace. He will not stay where his presence is merely managed. This kind of man is not dangerous. He is stable. But stability without dependence shifts the power dynamic, and not everyone is comfortable with that, though. Because when a man does not need you, you can't control him through withdrawal of everything. You cannot shape him through fear. You cannot keep him through leverage. You have to meet him as an equal, not as somebody just groveling to even touch your body. That is where a real partnership either begins or collapses. It's your choice. This is why the idea that men do not need women feels threatening to some people. It is not about rejection, it's about choice. A man does not need a woman but he can still deeply want one. But he wants her to be a part of his life, not the center, even though many guys make his woman, or their woman, the center. He wants companionship, not captivity, connection, not correction, affection, not approval. And yes, most men still want sex, but sex is not the goal, although it becomes the goal because of behaviors and these things that I've talked about today. Sex is not the reflection of dynamics. When men feel respected, grounded, and desired, sex flows naturally. When men feel managed, diminished, tolerated, sex becomes conditional, strategic, or it disappears entirely. That is not cruelty. That is chemistry. This is why so many men eventually reach a point where they say quietly to themselves, I am not afraid of being alone. I am afraid of disappearing inside of a relationship. And once a man reaches that point, he does not go back. Listen. So let's bring this home clearly. Without blame, without fantasy. Most men want women. They want their woman. They want companionship, intimacy, warmth, and a shared life. What they do not want is to lose themselves in the process. They do not want to become smaller, to be tolerated. They do not want to manage affection through compliance. They do not want to trade authenticity for access. A woman should be a part of a man's life, not the center of it. Not because women are unimportant, but because no one should be asked to orbit another person at the cost of their identity. Healthy relationships are built between two people who can stand on their own and choose each other freely, not holding on for grim death. Men who realize they do not need women are not rejecting love. They are rejecting leverage, manipulation, being held over a barrel, as they say, or bent over a barrel. They are saying, if I am with you, it is because you add peace, admiration, partnership to life, to my life, not because I'm afraid of being alone. A woman who understands this are not diminished by it. They are elevated because they are chosen, not relied upon. Hear that? So if this episode made you uncomfortable, sit with it. Maybe listen again. Discomfort is often the sound of an old script breaking. And if it made you feel seen, grounded, or clearer than before, then this episode did what it was meant to do. And if nothing else, remember this. Wanting a woman is healthy. Needing her to survive now is not. And love works best when no one has to disappear from who they are for it. Let me tell you a little short little story at the end here. Since I got a little time on this thing, I only have a maximum of an hour and 15 minutes because that's how long my backing music. I could technically go longer, but that's just my thing, anyways. I had an aunt when she was married. This is in Jamaica, and she loved her husband dearly. They never had any kids, but her and her husband were prospering very well. Anyhow, she visited. I think she visited us. I can't remember how old I was. She was a sweet lady, very smart. Anyhow, they had this shop which they supplied the neighborhood, the area around. And apparently there were people who were jealous and who wanted what they had. And one day they broke in and they burnt the store down to the ground. And her husband passed away within 2 or 3 weeks, something like that, maybe 2 months. He felt like all his life worth was gone. I believe he had his life wasn't his center, obviously. My aunt. But she didn't last too much longer because she depended on him for everything. For who she was, and she saw no life without him. I can't say that my parents were like that. I believe they complemented each other, but of course, they both died in the same year, but 20 years apart. My dad was a lot older too. But I guess that gives it away. But I realized that my mom still had a life. My dad had a life. I look at these old people and I realized they had lives. They added to each other's lives. They didn't revolve around each other. And yes, pretty much whatever my mother would ask my father to do, he would do it in most cases. Every once in a while you hear them disagree. Never like a shouting match, but they would disagree about random stuff. It never had anything to do with him helping her, though. I never heard him argue, well, I got to take the garbage out again. Never that kind of argument. It was always on other stuff. And maybe I should have brought up my uncle and my aunt because I don't really know the intricate. I should have probably kept it to my parents. But the point is that men, women, argue about the other stuff, the existential stuff, the cultural stuff, the societal stuff, politics if you want. But not about caring for each other and loving each other and allowing each other to be who you are. Because when my father died, because he died first, I realized, because I didn't know really, old people were different back in those days, but I never really realized how much my mother loved my dad until he passed away. Her sense of security, her lifelong mate, anyway, I would say to anybody, strive for something like that. Argue about the other stuff, but not who you are and not who they are. If they made you laugh, you want them to continue making you laugh. If they attracted you with their beauty, they might want to see a pair of underwear that's not as big as a pair of boxing shorts every now and then. Or as Chris Rock said in I Think I Love My Wife, he wants to see tag, and you can end it if you've seen the movie. All right, guys, till next time. I hope I'm going to try to clip this one up. I don't know how well it's going to work, but I'm going to try. But anyhow, until next time, y'all, take care of yourself, take care of each other. Hey, come check out You Probably Right podcast. Society is getting more unpredictable every day, but at the same time, predictable in its unpredictability. Say that 4 times real fast.
Come with me as I attempt to find clarity in all the fog while staying way outside the box and kicking the box way down the road with my size 12 dogs. I use the Bible, experience, education, fortune, misfortune, life's lessons, life's mistakes to sort through all the mess. I talk about news, God, God, self-help, sports, sickness, health, music, parenting, love, humbleness, hurt, pain, joy, and all the things that might make you say, I never thought of it that way. Hopefully, anyway. Also, I take a stab at answering tough and not so tough questions, and all the while, understand that, listen, sometimes you end up in the hot seat and there's no thermostat. Well, that's how it is here. And because there's no topic, very few topics off the table, Torontonians will understand that Doug Ford reference there. Hopefully the podcast will be helpful and uplifting. And hey, maybe you'll find your own private Idaho here somewhere. Hope to see you soon.